The heyday of chivalry in Azerbaijan as a socio-political institution occurred during the existence of the Azerbaijani state of Atabeyz, the state of Eldenized Atabeyz, 1136–1225. The state with its first capital in Nakhchivan and then in Tabriz had powerful armed forces, the core of which was knights. A professional warrior, knight received a land plot called ikta from the ruler and had to serve him for it. The bigger the ikta, the better the knight had to be equipped and the more warriors he had with to bring with him. On the borders of the state the structure was somewhat different. For example, larger land plots here were distributed among Turkic tribes or major feudal lords true to the ruler. These large border land plots were called UC, limit, and their rulers, UCBY. Control over the ikta and UC possessions, as well as knights, was carried out by a special department Divan ul-Jaysh. This military ministry was also responsible for recruiting soldiers and compiling and keeping the military registry. The knights' readiness for war was checked through regular parades, and they were often attended by the ruler of the state himself. At the parade, the weapons and equipment of a knight, as well as the number of his troops were checked according to the lists and the land plot that was allocated. A knight who did not fulfill the conditions of the contract could lose his land, and on the contrary, one who fulfilled all conditions could expect to receive a larger land plot. 11. The largest, longest and most careful review was conducted every year on the 13th day after the Novruz Bayram. Considering the history of chivalry in Azerbaijan, as well as in other countries of the Muslim East, it is necessary to touch on such a social institution as qulams. Initially, qulams in the Arab Caliphate represented slaves purchased in childhood and trained specifically for military functions. In the 9th century, after the suppression of the Karamite uprising, qulams of Turkic origin played a leading role in the armies of the Arab Caliphate and then in other countries of the Muslim East. Gradually they started to recruit slaves as qulams, picking teenagers from among free people. Qulams received special military training, were equipped and kitted out at the expense of the governor or suzerain and were professional soldiers. In Azerbaijan, the Institute of Qulams existed in the 9th–13th centuries. The whole process of training qulams is reflected in the work Siyasatnameh by Nizam ul-Mulk, who believed that qulams supported the central apparatus of power. In the first year of training, a qulam trained as a foot soldier. In the second year, he was given a horse and learned all the tricks of riding. In the third year, he received a sword. In the fourth year, a bow and arrows. In the fifth year, a heavy weapon. In the first year of service, young qulams were given only a chain mail, while more experienced ones received armor over the chain mail. Thus, in 5 years a qulam perfectly mastered all skills for using all kinds of weapons. A qulam who showed a special talent was recruited for Palace the fight of a knight and a dragon. An image on a ceramic plate from service and could even reach high public positions. It is the qulams who replenish the lists of knights. Having distinguished himself in battles and shown his loyalty to the ruler, a qulam could expect to receive an ikta. The Mongol invasion changed the consecutive course of the development of the social institution of chivalry. The first fights with the Mongols showed that a new era has come and the enemy prefers to achieve victory not in a knightly way, but by any means and methods. Jousting and fighting between small units were replaced by an era of mass armies. However, Genghis Khan and other Mongol rulers and commanders appreciated the heroism of individual soldiers, but they treated these same soldiers not as standalone units, but as cogs in a large military state mechanism.